is a continuation from the previous video. If you haven't watched it, you should go back and watch that one first before you watch this one. Okay, so I have gone to my first photo shoot. I have 6 photo shoots for this course, and I've gone into the assignment. This is where it tells me what the assignment is. And so I want to read, it says, the assignment is this. Review lecture PowerPoint 1 and lecture videos in the reflection series before beginning work. Take notes, and we've already covered why. Read the story below. It's only meant to be inspirational. You'll create photography based on your own unique personal interpretation of it. The photos must represent reflection, as in a reflected image. Submit exactly and only 3 photographs as JPEG files that tell your interpretation of this story, and submit here with a typed explanation of the light you chose to capture and why. The minimum you need to do is an exemplary job. Okay? Every image should apply the principles and elements of design, be highly creative and complete. Lecture PowerPoint 5 covers this in more detail. The work will be assessed using the rubric attached to this course. Challenge yourselves to create portfolio pieces that you can use to showcase your work to get hired. Okay, so I've now been given the brief. This is what I'm being asked to do. This is not negotiable. Okay? This is what you have to do. Client here clearly says 3 JPEG photographs. If I send 5 or 2 GIF photographs, they might not be able to use them. They might not be able to meet their deadline. Okay? So I need to make it very clear that I'm creating, or that I'm submitting JPEGs. Okay, JPEGs. Got it. So I'm going to come over here in my notes, and I know you guys can't see this. I've got a paper, and I'm going to take notes. And I'm at the top, I'm going to put reflection, photo shoot. And I'm going to take these notes to get this information into my unconscious brain so it can get to work. Okay, so I wrote down 3.jpg photos. Okay, now you see nowhere in here it said anything about size. My recommendation is to ask. If you see something you need that's not in there, ask your client. Is there a particular size you want? Because I will promise you this, I never ever worked with a client in my 17 years in industry who gave me all the information I needed. There was always something I had to go ask them for. And so what I did initially is I went through the criteria they gave me. Either they gave it to me orally and I took notes, or they sent me an email that had the information in it, or some other form, and I went through it and I made a list of notes of questions that I had so that I could go back to them one time and say, I have some questions. And in this case, there is no requirement. If I haven't put it in there, that means my students in my class are free to do any size they want. Okay, so there's some other things in here I have to do, so I'm going to have to go look for these and see how long it's going to take me to do those. There's a story I also need to read. So what I'm going to do is below this, I'm going to say review PowerPoint 01, and then down here it mentions PowerPoint 5 and 05. And I'm going to review lecture videos. Okay, so I need to do that. What else do I need to do? I'm going to need to look through my pictures, so I'm going to need time for that. So I'm going to actually shoot my photos, right? Shoot photos. And then review. And I might edit. All right, so these are just tasks. Right now, all I'm doing is coming up with a task list of things that I need to do. Principles and elements of design. Okay, the work will be assessed using the rubric. I've got to go look at the rubric. So review the rubric. All right, so I've written all that by hand. Now what I'm going to do, if I could get my cursor to behave, is I'm going to, task list week 1. Review PowerPoint 01 and 05. Review lecture videos. Review rubric. So now that I've got the notes over here on the right hand side, I can now organize them in my list over here. Okay, review rubric. Read story. Or spell story properly here. Okay, and then I'm going to plan my photo shoot. I'm going to take my photos. And I'm going to review those photos. And I'm then going to edit photos, maybe. And then I'm going to need to write explanation. If I can spell. I'm telling you, spell check has killed my spelling skills. That's not even how you spell it. Okay, write explanation and submit work in Blackboard. And I now have a task list of everything that I need to accomplish for this project. And it may be weeks 1 and 2. Okay. The next thing I have to figure out is how much time I'm going to spend. And this was really hard. And here's why it's hard. When you're a kid, people tell you, hey, get up at 8 o'clock or whatever, 7 o'clock. I'm not even sure what time school starts. Get up at 7 o'clock. Okay, get on the bus at 7:30. Arrive at school and go to your homeroom. And then your whole day is managed by other people telling you where to be and when. And then you get to be at 18 and you graduate high school and you're sent off to college and your professors say, your deadlines. And you're like, what? Because nobody's told you how they determined what time you needed to be where and why, right? So people worked it out and they didn't share the math with you. Well, I hate to break it to you. Everybody who likes to say, I've never used algebra a day in my life. You use algebra every day of your life. And this is one way. Algebra is one way you can figure out how to plan things. Okay? So right now I've got this task list and I don't have any idea how long it's going to take me to do any of those things. And there are different things you can do. The first time you could just do it, just say, you know what, I'm just going to get started on the very first day and I'm going to dedicate 2 hours a day to this and I'm going to time how long it takes me to do each one of these things. And then I'm going to come back to my list and I'm going to write down how long it took me to do that. That's a perfectly great way to figure out how long it takes to do stuff, is to time yourself. Literally time yourself. Get realistic quotes for how long it takes you to do something. And that will help make you a better estimator in the future. Now, I know in the beginning, the first time you do stuff, your conscious brain is very engaged in the process and it's very energy consuming and it's tiring and you're like, oh my God, this is so hard. Hang in there. It's the way with anything. Anything and everything new requires your conscious brain to be engaged and it consumes much more energy than your unconscious brain. And so you consciously have to pay attention to what you're doing in the beginning. After a certain amount of time, your unconscious brain gets it, and then you don't have to think about it anymore. It just knows. And that is something, as long as you practice it periodically, once you've put stuff in your unconscious brain, and I read books by neurobiologists, and I'm married to a professor of biology. So that's how I know all this. Once you put stuff into your unconscious brain, you have it forever. It's like riding a bike. As long as you practice it periodically, right? Things can get rusty if you don't practice them. But if you take things out periodically and practice them, or in this case, once you learn how to do this, you will do this on every project you work on for the rest of your life. It'll be yours. It'll be embedded. It'll be there. And it will allow you to meet those deadlines and do a great job. Okay? So I now have my first task list of what needs to be done. We'll continue in the next video.